In 218 BC, the Roman Empire ate Spain for breakfast. But in World War II, Spain had just recovered from a civil war and remained neutral, quietly having friendly relations with fascist Italy. So it's been a hot and cold relationship with peaks and valleys, ice and fire, Twinkies and kale. You get the picture. But whether they're lovers or fighters, there's a reason we call them the Romantic languages. It's not just about that. Their architecture comes out of a dream, influencing the Western world for thousands of years at this point. So today, we're going to show you what they both look like in Minecraft and how much has been accomplished over the span of 4 years. This is everything Italy and Spain have ever done. First, the Italian city of Milan. Immense progress by this team, but what's really fascinating is what's under the city. Ruins of a previous settlement date back all the way to 500 BC when the ancient Celts of Gaul founded the city of Mediolanum. But the Romans were having none of it and took the city by force in 222 BC, Latinizing its name to Mediolanum. In an unbelievable move, Roman Emperor Diocletian moved the capital of the Roman Empire from Rome to Mediolanum. That's right. This was the capital of the Roman Empire, and because of that, giant structures and monuments were built like the Circus Maximus, the Baths of Hercules, and complexes of imperial palaces. But all of these ancient marvels did not survive in any capacity due to the continual historical violence visited on the area. So much of what could be seen from the past, even the Egyptian pyramids, of which only their rubbled skeletons remained, were said to be so beautiful that it's pretty much on par with some sort of alien artifact. The beauty of the ancient world would not last forever. In the 500s, the Gothic War laid waste to the city in a siege, causing immense loss of life, just after the Huns had sacked and devastated it almost 100 years prior. But the city remained under Byzantine control even after the Western Empire fell until they surrendered to the Franks in 774. Wild shit happened in the centuries following, including capturing Empress Beatrice and forcing her to ride a donkey backwards out of the city in shame, a scene that sounds straight out of Game of Thrones. Even by the surrender of the Franks in the 700s, only a few buildings from the Roman Empire had survived and were still in use. And during all the conflicts since then, including the Napoleonic Wars, Austrian Rebellion, and World Wars, and by the 1900s, all of the conflict, including the Napoleonic Wars, Austrian Rebellion, World Wars, there was absolutely nothing left. Allied forces were there on their way to Milan and couldn't make it in time before the Italian rebel factions gained control of the city, captured Mussolini, and executed him and his mistress. This is why much of the city you see is so modern, over and over again. Historically, this area was the center of conquest and violence, to the point where almost none of the ancient or even relatively old structures survive. But Milan is the heart of beauty in modern Italian architecture, recreated by Team Italy with religious accuracy. And what you were all waiting for, Rome, has some progress, with the Colosseum meticulously detailed with some neighboring progress in the city centered around the cultural artifact. But Rome is way older than the Colosseum. Historical records show continuous habitation in this area for almost 3,000 years, making it one of the oldest in all of Europe. The founding of Rome boils down to something that sounds like it's out of the Bible. Two brothers building the city. One kills the other and the city takes his name, Romulus. But Roman annalists have to reconcile this with several other legends that predate the 700 BC origin of this one. Whatever the case, Rome is a treasure and we'd love to see more of it. If you're looking for a dreamy Italian village overlooking the Mediterranean Sea, San Benedetto del Tronto is the place, being named after a martyr who was a soldier in Cora during Diocletian's reign, with people building a church around his tomb starting in 313 AD. They named this budding village after him 6 centuries later. In more recent history, many Turks invaded the bay of this area, capturing Italian sailors and selling them into slavery. This place has a treasure trove of artifacts and monuments dotting the coast. But mostly what captures me regarding this place are the real-life shots. It seems like some sort of central, cultural, historical focal point of spiritual energy. Or maybe I'm just bamboozled and drunk with love from that view of the Mediterranean. If you visit Italy, do something here, whether that's just getting a margarita or a vasectomy. Speaking of, we have a city built by the Spartans, Taranto, which by 500 BC was the largest city in the world with a population of 300,000 people. Trust me, That was a lot back then. But today, like other cities we've seen, not much remained of the ancient Greek ruins, so they just built today's city over it. Maybe someday we'll be able to excavate the Roman secrets that lay buried under your house if you live here. Romans called this Tarentum, and since I've played way too much Rome Total War, I now know exactly where the city is. If Italy was some sort of strange, uncircumcised appendage, Taranto would be right in the center of the tip. In ancient times, it was known as a center for its unique artistry in currency and a center for art and Greek pottery. And way up in the 90s, it was declared to be a modern danger to the environment with all the intense and poisonous factory smoke belching out of its dominant industrial sector. But before that, it was a heavy influence on the birth of the Renaissance historically. And so not all is lost. There's still a lot of temple remains left around. Despite the insane amount of conflict and violence the peninsula has endured for 2,000 years straight, with progress in the area in Minecraft increasing. Time for my favorite, Monteriggioni. God, if I didn't know that was a place, it would sound delicious. But no, this is a walled medieval town perfectly situated at the top of a hill, for the ultimate defensive fortification. This was built almost 1,000 years ago by the Sienese in their war against Florence, placed as the perfect defensive strategic location that would serve them well throughout the Middle Ages. The Florentines and the Bishop of Volterra attacked it many times, but they couldn't even touch it. Eventually, some coward was in charge of it during the 1500s and just handed the keys to the town over to the House of Medici, an Italian banking clan forming a dynasty, and the townspeople hated him for it. But it's one of those things that survives today. It's a miracle. It makes me wish more cities were still walled today or had their original walls, because God, that would just be so cool. But at least we get this one. If we're gonna look at Spain, we first have to look at Spain. You would expect Spain to be this thingy, but it's actually not. 4 countries, including Spain, occupy this thingy. Spain, Portugal, Andorra, and Gibraltar. Luckily, Team Iberia, the Minecraft team in charge of building Spain, their territory also covers Portugal, Andorra, and Gibraltar, which, when combined, makes up the totality of this thingy. And the first thing on this thingy that we're going to look at is the Mafra Palace. We build this stuff 1-to-1 scale, but you have to realize, because of perspective, 1-to-1 scale actually makes it slightly smaller in Minecraft. So with it being this gigantic in Minecraft, you know this thing is a monstrosity in real life. There was this guy, King John V, and basically said to his wife, who was the queen, "Hey, if you give me kids, I'm gonna build you something absolutely awesome." She did, and so now we have this marvel of history stretching well beyond their lives throughout the ages, and the building itself will outlast us as well. And unfinished in Minecraft, this incredible complex atop of the mountain called Alhambra is one of the best preserved historical Muslim structures in the world, being almost 1,000 years old, though falling in disarray and getting inhabited by 18th century squatters during the whole Napoleon Empire period. We're not looking at the complete fort here, but based on what we've seen, there's incredible potential. Bilbao also has incredible potential, being this dreamy yet huge northern city in Spain, and Team Iberia have started progress on its old town, where some of the most ancient historic buildings still stand. During the Third Age, the ring was taken through the valley where the city rests by a hobbit with a name similar to the town, which is where the city gets its name, and its population today is just over 1 million. And we have the 16th century museum, originally a palace with a long history of inheritance, selling. It's been in the hands of a lot of people since no one could make it through the whole 500-year period. And then right here we have the Gate of Europe. If you think this thing looks awesome, that's because it was designed by American architects. They were also made in the best modern decade in world history, the 80s. And based on this design, it's not a surprise. What I love about this is, geography-wise, with Spain being the entryway to Europe, this is a perfect place to put the Gate, the second tallest set of twin buildings in the continent. Not as tall, but an ancient marvel. The Palma Cathedral was built by the Crown of Aragon on the site which previously stood a mosque. In its Catalan Gothic style, this church is incredibly unique. In modern history, it underwent a renovation that lasted nearly a century, and Team Iberia has built some accompanying progress adorning the structure. On a Spanish island sits the tallest mountain peak, Puig Major, which has an American military radio installation. Renovated in 2000, they terraformed the mountain pretty hard to accommodate it, with the Spanish public left with complaints and criticisms. Apparently it's forbidden to go into the military zone, but this is a well-known hiking destination, so people do it anyway. The mountain in Minecraft was huge and would not easily load. I spent about 2 hours attempting to load what is visible to us now. A Corona is a city with heavy historical Gaelic influence, and its very name seems to be a mystery as to its origin. The town originally spread from the Tower of Hercules, not built in Minecraft, but what remains to be the oldest historical lighthouse still available to us on Earth. The town experienced a mini golden age when the Romans conquered it and held it for a few centuries, but went into decline when they withdrew and the Vikings started raiding the area heavily. Modern history has it as a pivotal Spanish port for the manufacturing of textiles. The next area is really something. It has a largely complete radius of progress, but then there's these even larger mid-progress areas that just look so crazy and fascinating to look at. We're gonna look at it all. All of it surrounding this incredible bridge. This is in the city of Porto, which shared the designation of European culture capital with Rotterdam in 2001. This area is a cornerstone of Portuguese culture with renowned music artists, the first moving pictures, major concert hall spaces, and incredible resorts. Architecture is such a huge part of the culture here. They even have an Oporto School of Architecture, one of the most prestigious in the world. They've got incredible cuisine too. One of the most popular snacks, the Francesina, is made of bread, steak, sausage, cheese, and a beer-based sauce. I'm ready to book my flights after seeing pictures. This place is so old, it may have originally been a Phoenician trading settlement, though the evidence is not substantial enough to be confirmed. It was important to the Celts, then the Romans, then the Muslims. Eventually, the Portuguese Liberal Revolution of 1820 began in Porto, peacefully spreading to the entire country, though there was a military insurrection, and eventually a new constitution ratifying a liberal basis into Portuguese law. It's no surprise that Porto is known as a city of bridges, given the amazing one Team Iberia have completed centering the whole area of progress here, with the size of the area still in development being really ambitious. Speaking of ambitious, here's one of Iberia's greatest accomplishments, a fully completed international racetrack, the Algarve International Circuit. Recently constructed in 2008 and costing $250 million, the circuit has probably more than made its money back, hosting the World Superbike Championship the same year of its opening, the A1 Grand Prix season the year after that, and it's been a pivotal racetrack for all international events involving racing ever since. Their schedule got wiped out in 2020 for reasons that will not be mentioned, and one of the corners of the track is named after Craig Jones, a motorbike racer who died in 2008 after a terrible motorbike collision with another racer. They also have a bit of progress in Santiago, a city with a surprisingly mild climate thanks to Atlantic Ocean currents. Santiago's economy centers mainly on governmental administration and cultural tourism, with the central square of the city being started here in Iberian territory. Now check this out. Beautifully built resorts with incredible architecture at La Manga, a sandbar that's actually 21 kilometers long, and Iberia has built a small piece of it to demonstrate its beauty. During the Spanish Civil War in 1938, a naval battle took place right here on the shore. People could walk out of their homes onto the beach and see the raining gunfire between the two naval forces who happened to run into each other in the dead of night by chance. The sandbar separates the Mediterranean Sea from Mar Menor Lagoon, and reports say this is one of the most incredible areas for tourist habitation during your trip, with the Mar Menor Lagoon being so beautiful, and crazy enough, so shallow that you can just walk through most of it. Biggest kiddie pool in the world. And one of the notable monasteries in the world is the Jeronimos Monastery, built in the Portuguese Gothic Manuelan style, residing in Lisbon. The monastery replaced a church previously existing on the same spot, home to Christian monks of the military religious organization the Order of Christ, a reconstructed clan of the Knights Templar. Almazan is a small Spanish village straight out of ancient history, dating back to the 10th century, conquered by Christians, taken back by Castilians, even a local civil war in the 13th century. The town square built here is the heart of the larger municipality, which has less than 6,000 residents. The member of Build the Earth who built this was called Mercedona, But he had a summer home here in Almazan. Electro YT, the owner of both Spain as well as Team Benelux, met him in real life and even took a picture with him. A builder who was connected with him on social media informed the community of his passing in early November of 2022 when he took his own life. Everyone who knew him said he seemed like a happy guy, making jokes and sending memes, so this was a shock to everyone. If you're afraid something might happen to you, don't hesitate. Call 988 or the equivalent for the hotline in your country. But I would want to say for anyone feeling down, remember that life is a brief miracle of consciousness that we will never get again. After we're gone, it's over, and we will never think, breathe, see sunlight, hear music, ever. It's going to end later anyways, and we can't stop it. So it's worth it to use the little time that we have in this weird place called Earth with so much beauty and possibility to see what happens.